Hello, brothers and sisters. On this third Sunday of Easter, we want to be attuned to that Jesus is going to speak to us. Now, on this famous story narrative of the road to Emmaus, why was it so difficult for the two disciples to recognize the risen Lord? Now, Jesus' death scattered his disciples and shattered their hopes and dreams. Now, previously, they had been so full of hope and enthusiasm. They were convinced that this carpenter from Nazareth was the one who was going to redeem Israel in a way that was similar to what King David did, but on a grander scale. Jesus, whom they entrusted their hopes, indeed their very lives, was the one who was going to do battle with their adversaries. He would unite the 12 tribes of Israel and overcome Israel's enemies. He would surely manifest his power after a long 30-year period of concealment and preparation. This is what they were expecting. And it came crashing down on the cross of Calvary. They didn't recognize him because they believed that he was finished. He wasn't coming back. Now, getting back to the story, as the two men were walking, trying to get as far away from Jerusalem as they could, just imagine how heavy their disappointment was and how much sadness gripped their hearts and how motivated they were to leave the bitterness behind in the event on Calvary, which ended so brutally bad. They couldn't get out of Jerusalem quick enough. Now, these two pilgrims have been nurturing a unique aspiration that Jesus was the fulfillment of the messianic hope, which Israel had been waiting for centuries. Now their hope was falling to pieces. The cross on Calvary was the most in your face, unequivocal sign of a defeat that seemed so permanent. Here was this Davidic warrior who was utterly defenseless in the hands of violent people, unable to offer any kind of resistance to the raw assault of evil. So here they are on this Sunday morning, these two men with their tail between their legs. They're fleeing Jerusalem so they wouldn't meet the same fate. When they reflected upon the events of Jesus' passion, terminating when the stone was rolled across the tomb, their hopes for liberation instead were transformed into the most painful day of their lives. They left Jerusalem to go elsewhere. Perhaps they could find a quiet respite in the village of Emmaus. They probably looked like two people who are desperately trying to erase this bitter memory. If Emmaus had anything comparable to a bar or a pub, they'd go there to drown their sorrows. So here they are on the road, walking in bitter sadness. What soon transpires will become so important, not only to them, but will be a pivotal moment in the history of the church. Under the master storytelling of St. Luke, Jesus' encounter with the two men it appears to happen just out of the blue, as if they just ran into each other. It seems to be one of those chance meetings that happen in which one's life is forever changed. The two men are walking along, deep in thought, and a stranger comes up alongside them. That's Jesus, but they're unable to recognize him. Rather than reveal himself in some kind of grand gesture, he gradually reveals himself through a conversation, which will be therapeutic. They are in the presence of the divine physician who will heal them and restore their hope. Notice what Jesus does. He asks them a question, then he listens. Even though he knows the reason for their disappointment, he gives them time to name and articulate their pain, disappointment, and bitterness. Out of this cold and windy day that clouds their mind, and as fragile as Jesus' presence seems to be, I mean, they just don't recognize him, he has chosen this place, this moment that we utterly disdain, emptiness and abandonment. Aren't we like those two disciples? How many times have we had our ambitious hopes and dreams shattered? How many times have we felt that we were so close to realizing our happiness only to find ourselves knocked to the ground, disappointed, disillusioned? But Jesus walks with people exactly in those circumstances, just as he accompanies us during the pain, bewilderment, and crushing loss, which we all have inevitably experienced. I mean, just fill in the blank. Jesus walks with all people who discouraged, walk with their heads hung low. And walking with them in a discreet manner, he is able to restore hope. How does he do it? Jesus speaks to them above all through scriptures. Those who take up the Bible as part of their daily conversation with the divine, they will not encounter superheroes, fierce campaigns of conquest in which the good guys always come up on top. No, true hope never emerges that easily. It always emerges from those who are crushed by circumstances, who experience oppression and marginalization. In short, hope never comes cheaply. It knows defeat. God does not come to us in a dramatic fashion, except in rare occasions, such as when Saul was on his way to Damascus. Rather, he usually reveals himself on a cold, windy day that obscures his presence. He seems to appear to us in those places that we all disdain. Once Jesus unpacked the meaning of the scriptures, he then repeats a gesture that happens at every Holy Mass. He takes bread, blesses it, breaks it, and gives it. That's it. Throughout all of history, that's how God seems to operate, which are revealed in these simple gestures. That's what is contained in every Eucharist and is what the church, which is Jesus' very mystical body, should be. Jesus takes us, blesses us, breaks our life, because there is no love without surrender and sacrifice, and offers it to others. He offers himself to everyone. Brothers and sisters, we all have had challenging and difficult moments, dark moments, in which we walk in darkness and sadness. We're pensive, trying to make sense of what's happening to us. Our horizons, sometimes they feel bleak without hope. And that's where Jesus appears. He's always beside us to give us hope, to warm our hearts and say, go ahead, go forward. Don't be afraid. I'm with you. Go ahead. The secret of the road to Emmaus is simply this. Despite appearances to the contrary, we continue to be loved by God, and God will never stop loving us. Never. God will always walk with us, always. Even in the most painful moments, even in our worst moment, even in the moments we know defeat, that is where the Lord is. And this is our hope. Let us go forward in the midst of uncertainty, knowing that Jesus is among us. Let us always know that he is beside us and he walks with us always. Amen.